We have a couple of problems left in 4.2, but I've already assigned that homework. So you know when that homework's due on Tuesday. But we still have a couple more to do that might help you if you have any questions. So let me fix my attendance. Okay, so this is on page 34, this is 4.2, page 34, at the very end, we have a flagpole standing on the ground, so here's my flagpole, and I want to know how high that flagpole is, find the height of the flagpole. So, as I said yesterday, when we are talking about a tree, a pole, a building, a person, whatever it is that's standing up, you're going to assume that it's perpendicular. All right, always. Okay? Now, who remembers where I'm going to put the angle of elevation? It says the angle is 59. Lena? Right down here. And where am I going to put my angle of depression? Same spot, right? They're always equal. So with the angle they give you, whether it's depression or elevation, you're going to put it right there. All right? Wait, Maya, you're up here, sweetheart. This is your seat right here. Terry's not here. Gabby, Laz, and Emma are not. Okay. Now, where am I going to put the shadow? It says the shadow is 13 feet long. Where am I going to put it? On the bottom. Exactly. Guys, when you go outside and you see a shadow, where is it? On the ground. Right? That's the shadow, right there. Okay, so now we look at our situation. This is our angle. So we figure out which sides are involved in the problem. This side is not involved, it's not labeled. Which side is this? Opposite. And this is adjacent. So then I remember my SOHCAHTOA, right? And which function, sine, cosine, or tangent, will I use? Tangent. Opposite and adjacent. So tangent angle, and remember, the angle is always hooked to the tangent, sine, or cosine. Angle automatically gets hooked. Glued. All right, opposite over adjacent, so x over 13. Solving for x, so I'll multiply by 13 and type it in. And the height of that tree is 21.64 feet. Remember in our word problems, we are labeling. Okay, last one. We have a building, and we have a man looking at the top of the building. So here's the man, and he's looking up at the top of the building. The building is 48 feet tall, and the man is standing 100 feet from the building. So where am I going to put the 100? He's 100 feet from the building. Now, if there were an eagle on the top of the building, and it said how far is the man from the eagle, then it would be this. You see the difference? I'm measuring to the building here. All right, what am I looking for? The angle of elevation, which we just talked about. We always have to put right there. Okay, you need a sine, a cosine, or a tangent. Which one are you going to use? This is your angle. This side is opposite. This side is adjacent. So once again, I'm going to use tangent. So angle goes with tangent. So tan x equals opposite over adjacent. There was only one of these in the notes yesterday. Who was paying attention? How in the world do I solve that? Exactly. I have to do inverse tangent. Inverse tangent. So when you are trying to find an angle, when x is the angle, you aren't going to use your regular tangent button. You're going to have to use your second tangent or inverse tangent button. Okay? So over here, I use my regular tangent button because I know the angle. Here, I have to use my second tangent button because that's how I find an angle. So second tangent, 48 divided by 100. I got 25.64 degrees. That angle is 25.64 degrees. All right, are we okay with that? All right, so Kyle, you had a question about yesterday's notes?
No, I got it.
Got it?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so 4-2, I've already assigned, that's due on Tuesday. Okay? Everybody? Okay. All right, so now we're gonna start 4-3. And a lot of it is the same. If you still haven't memorized your green sheet, you'll need it for this 4-3 stuff. Here we go. 1A. I got an angle down here, and it contains the point -3, -4. All right, we are not going to be confused. By the picture, I got a big angle, comes all the way around, and that point -3, -4 is down there in quadrant 3, and the angle goes through it. Your job is to do what we did a couple days ago. We're going to find all of our functions. So sine, cosine, tangent, cosecant, secant, cotangent. Who remembers how we did this? How did we do this? What did we have to have? What did we draw? Triangle? Because then we had to figure out what was opposite, adjacent, and hypotenuse. And then this was easy, right? But I need a triangle. When your angle is in a different quadrant, you have to construct a triangle in that quadrant. So how you do that is, I'm going to start right here at this point. They gave me that point, and I'm going to go straight up to the x-axis. So now my triangle is this one right here. And this is my angle. Now, I think everything I tell you is extremely important, but I'm getting ready to tell you something that is really extremely important. We are branching out of quadrant 1. So we're going to be drawing triangles all over the place. The triangles that you draw must be part of what we call the butterfly bow tie. So any triangle you draw will be one of those. So if you're in quadrant 2, that's the triangle you'll draw. If you're in quadrant 3, that's the triangle you'll draw. And theta is always at the origin. So you have your little right triangles. I've got the one now that is in quadrant 3. Okay, with me? If you ever draw a triangle like this, you'll see this old lady just completely flip out. We don't do that. The triangles are drawn like this. Okay. Let's think about this for a second. If this is the point -3, -4, and this is the origin right here, don't I go left 3 and down 4 to get to that point? So I'm going to label this side -3 and this side -4. And I know that bothers you. It bothered me the first time too. I don't like negative sides of triangles, but make them negative. All right, make them negative. Leave them negative. Left and down. We have to make sure we understand that in quadrant 3, you're left and down. Okay. What's missing in the picture? What do I not have that I need if I'm going to fill in all these things? Hypotenuse. And how do I find the hypotenuse? A squared plus B squared equals C squared, Pythagorean theorem, right? So here we go. Remember when you square something, it's automatically positive. So don't, especially if you're using your calculator, don't get messed up with that. This is going to be -3 squared and -4 squared equals x squared. I don't even do the negatives because I know when I square it's going to be positive. So 9 plus 16 equals x squared. 25 equals x squared and x equals 5. This can be negative. If I'm on the left side, that will be negative. If I am down, that will be negative. The hypotenuse is always positive. The hypotenuse is always positive. Left and down are negatives, but the hypotenuse is always positive. Every problem you do. Okay, now I'm ready to go. There's my angle. Which side is opposite? -4. Adjacent. Hypotenuse. SOHCAHTOA. So sine will be -4/5. Cosine is -3/5. And tangent is 4/3 because the negatives will cancel. With me, friends? And then these guys are just the reciprocals, right? So here we go. -5/4, -5/3, and 3/3. What is the only thing different about that problem and all the ones we did the other day? We got negatives now. And why do we have negatives? Because our triangle is in a different quadrant. Remember the other day, they were all right here? So everything was positive. This is exactly the same thing, only now you have to pay attention to the negatives. All right, so let's try B. Which quadrant is problem B in? The 4th. So my butterfly bow tie in the 4th looks like this. X is 1, Y is -2. I'm going right 1 and down -2 according to the problem. Right? Okay, so what do I need to do now? I know my angle is right here. What do I need to do now? this that a lot, so you go ahead and do it. Oh, this is the first time I've seen it. I'm like, I'm learning. Come across it. You were late today, so you're slipping back into your old ways. I knew it was too good to be true. All right, what did we get for the hypotenuse? Root 5. Those of you who got root 5, you are the winners. 1 squared plus 2 squared equals x squared. 1 plus 4. X is the square root of 5. And remember, the hypotenuse will always be positive. Hypotenuse is always positive. Okay, so I need the sine, cosine, tangent, cosecant, secant, and you guys probably already have these filled in. -2 is my opposite side, agree? So sine is -2 over root 5. Cosine is 1 over root 5. And tangent is -2 over 1, which I'm going to write down as just -2. And I'll do my reciprocals. So negative root 5 over 2, root 5, and -1/2. How do you feel about that? Not bad? Easy. I heard somebody say easy. Yep, it is easy. All right, we got 2 more. Go ahead and do them with your partner. I'll do them up here, and we'll see if we have the same answers. Remember, when you have a point, the x is sideways. So -1/3 goes left 1 and up 3. Answers are up here when you're ready. Check yours. Notice that in the last problem, there are no negatives. Why are there no negatives in the last problem? Because we're in quadrant 1. And if you are in quadrant 1, everything is positive. It's only when you get in those other quadrants
our quiz or the test, will it be, like, will it already have the sine, cosine, tangent, like, because, like, will it already be listed there for us, just like the labels, or will it be like these ones that won't be there?
I don't know. You need to know what they are. So if it
Yeah.
says find all six, I'll probably have them listed, because then they'll be in the same order for everyone. But you need to know what the six are. All right, does anybody have a question about any of these? How'd you get through this?
It's in the middle, it's sine.
It's 25
It's the
plus
SEC,
16.
It's cosine.
5
It's
squared
cosine.
plus
You
4
get SEC.
squared. Oh, I
Tangents.
squared.
Those lines would not be an SEC.
Remember, you'll have a little calculator, so no excuses for your mistakes.
Honestly,
Huh?
that's what you want. The SEC pass.
Okay? Now, the bad news is, the next problem looks different, number 2. The good news is, it isn't. It's exactly the same thing that we have been doing. The only difference is, there is no picture drawn for you, but you are given a point. Okay, we're given a point. The point is 2, -2. Start at the origin, and what does that mean? That means go right to, and down to. So your butterfly bow tie, right to, down to, is right there. It's exactly what we just did, but you have to draw your own point, which you can do. Now, this one is going to be a little bit different because what is your hypotenuse? Square root of 8. And for the first time, I think, what about the square root of 8? It actually simplifies. So you have to simplify, just like reducing fractions, you have to do it. So how does the square root of 8 break down? 2 radical 2, perfect. So that is going to be my hypotenuse. So this is adjacent, this is opposite. Okay, now watch this. When I do my sign, I'm going to get opposite over hypotenuse. Would you agree with that? But that fraction reduces. See how you have a 2 and a 2? So those are going to cancel, and you're going to have -1 over root 2. That is your answer to the sign. So the trigonometry didn't change, but there's some arithmetic in here. We have to shrink our radical to root 2, and then it turns out that we can then reduce and end up with that as our sign. Now, how about cosine? Cosine will be positive 2 over 2 root 2. Won't we do the same thing? So 1 over root 2. And what about tangent? Opposite over adjacent, which we will write as -1. So these guys right here are my final answers. Those are the things I'm going to flip. So this will just be -2 over 1, root 2 over 1, and -1 again. Remember, -1, well, look back here. You flip that, don't you still get -1? All right, let's do B. Which quadrant are we going to draw our triangle in? The second. We're gonna go, start at the origin, we're gonna go left 1 and up 4. So here's my triangle. 17, which does not break down, so we don't need to do what we did in the last problem. Which side is opposite? Remember, this is your angle. Which side is opposite? 4. So what's our sign?
4 square root of 17.
4 over the square root of 17. Okay. And cosine is -1 over the square root of 17. Those negatives are important, so make sure you're keeping them. And the tangent is technically 4 over -1, but I'm going to write that as -4. And then my reciprocals. 17 over 4, -17. Okay. Let's do the next one. Anybody notice anything that's a little bit different about the next one?
Oh, grab.
When I plot the point 0, -2, I don't go sideways, I just come straight down. Right, this is 2. Boys and girls, this is a problem. Because I'm supposed to be drawing a triangle, right? And the triangle I draw has to be one of these. And I can't draw a triangle with that point, it's not the right spot, right? So, here's the deal. When your point is on an axis, any of them, I don't care which one, when your point is on an axis, you cannot draw a triangle. Instead, you have to draw a circle. When your point is on an axis, so in other words, you're gonna have 0. You're gonna have 0, comma, or something, comma, 0 every time. Okay? Draw a circle. Now, we know that the coordinates of this point are 0, -2. We know that, but we plotted it. What is the radius? I drew this circle through that point. What is the radius of that circle?
3, 2.
Isn't it 2? Kids, I went through that point. Aren't I going 2 all directions there? So I have an x coordinate of 0, a y coordinate of -2, and a radius of 2. The radius is like the hypotenuse, always positive. Is it an emergency? If it's not an emergency, no. If it is an emergency, take the passive vote. Only you know. I don't know. Alright, so x is 0, y is -2, and r is 2. The radius is always positive, just like the hypotenuse. Now, who's got a green sheet out? Did you notice anything when it said sine theta equals, it said opposite over hypotenuse, but did it say something else? Sine is y over r. Kids, there are 2 definitions for the sine. One of them is your triangle definition, opposite over hypotenuse, and one is your circular definition, which is y over r. noticed this or not, this was the point -1/4 in the last problem. And every time we did this, wasn't the x the adjacent side and the y is the opposite side? So opposite and y go together. So a sine is opposite over hypotenuse. It's also going to be y over r. So when I'm doing a circle, I have to remember that sine is y over r. So my answer will be -2/2 or -1. What is the circular definition for cosine?
X over R.
X over r, thank you, Adam. X over r. And for me, that will be 0/2, which is 0. And then what's tangent?
Y over X.
Opposite over adjacent, y over x. And y, y over x
No solution.
is undefined. This is the first time that's happened to us because this is the first time we got 0. Now what about the reciprocals? Well, what happens when I flip the sign? I still get -1? But what happens when I flip the cosine?
Get 2.
I don't.
So you got
I get 2/0, which is undefined.
Remember that?
And then, be careful here, what happens when I flip this? I get
Zero.
0/-2, which is 0. Remember, if the zero's on top, it's 0. But if the zero's on the bottom, it's no candy. Wow, we are packing in the info today. Let's look at D, problem D. Where is the point 3, 0?
3 on the x.
Right here?
Right.
Kids, it's on an axis. What did I tell you? If it's on an axis, you draw a circle. And for this circle, we know that x is 3 and y is 0. They told me that. What is the radius of this circle? If this is the point 3, 0, what's the radius of the circle? 3. Sine is y over r. So sine will be 0/3, which is 0. 0 on top is 0. Cosine is x over r, which is 1. 3/3. Tangent is y over x, which is 0/3, which is 0. So here are our answers, our final answers to the first group. Now we're gonna flip them. So what's 3/0? Undefined. And you can abbreviate that if you wish. What's 3/3?
1.
1. And tangent 3/0 is cotangent. 3/0 is. We're gonna do a couple more problems. Quick recap of big ideas. When you draw your triangle and you do the Pythagorean theorem and you find your hypotenuse, no matter what, the hypotenuse will always be positive. Right? Always positive. Secondly, when you draw a triangle, you will always draw one of the pieces of the butterfly at a time, right? Those are the way you draw triangles. Thirdly, if you have a point, and if the point happens to be on an axis, we do not even draw a triangle, we draw a circle. And then if we're drawing a circle, we have to use our definitions that are not opposite adjacent, but the y over r, x over r, like that, right? Okay. All right, what's going on in this next thing? You have observed that sometimes we get negative answers, and that depends on the quadrant that we're in. So here's the question. We are between pi over 2 and pi. Don't be confused here. Keep your mind open. And you are going to tell me if my angle is in that space, will my sine, cosine, and tangent be positive or negative? I'm going to circle the right answer. That's what you're determining. The answer won't be a number. The answer will be it's positive or it's negative. Anybody remember what pi is in terms of degrees? Pi is 180. And if pi is 180, then pi over 2 would be
360. Nope. That's
half a pi
Yeah.
would be 90. So we are looking for angles that are between 90 and 180. Alright? Now, you guys, the other day we did navigation problems, and when we set up our compass, if we are flying a plane, sailing a ship, walking in the woods, we use compass labels, okay? And compass labels are these. We talked about that. But the only time those labels are used is if it's navigation. Everything else, these are the labels that are used. I know it's confusing. I can't help it. I didn't make the rules. These are the labels. 0 is here, 90, 180, 270, 360.
Oh, yeah.
These are used in every single problem except navigation. So, this question says I'm between 90 and 180. So which quadrant am I in if I'm between 90 and 180?
Black Street. Yeah, it's like Black Street.
I gotta know who that was.
Yeah. It's probably
Yeah, bro. Kyle, this is important for you, bro. Kyle, make sure you remember this.
One of my first few years of teaching, my room was down in the, where the advancement office is, that was my classroom. And there were 2 classrooms down there. And one day in the middle of class, this god-awful crash from the classroom next door. And I went running over there to make sure what was going on. The teacher had gotten upset and literally thrown a desk at a student.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. Goes back to Wild West days. Yeah. Anyway, they're all fun. It's all fun. All right, so we are in quadrant 2. So I am going to draw my triangle in quadrant 2. This is my butterfly bow tie triangle. I have no idea about any labels on this, no idea at all, but I do know, because it's in quadrant 2, that this number is negative, this number is positive, and this number is always positive. Are you following my logic? And I know that this is the opposite side, this is the adjacent side, and this is the hypotenuse. So when they ask me about the sign, again, I don't have any numbers, so I'm not going to be able to say 2/3. But I know that opposite and hypotenuse are both positive. So when I build that fraction, my sign will be a positive number. I don't know what the number is, but it will be a positive number. Now what about cosine? Cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. So it will be negative. And tangent will be opposite over adjacent. Oops. So it too will be negative. See how that works? Alright, we're gonna do one more. Let's do pi to 3 pi over 2. Which quadrant am I in if I am between pi and 3 pi over 2? Well, exactly. I don't know who said that. Somebody said that. 180 to 270. He knew 180 because pi is 180. How do you get 270? 3 180s divided by 2. So if I am between 180 and 270, I am here in quadrant 3. And what do I know about this side in quadrant 3? This side is negative, left. What about this side? Negative, negative, down, 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 negative. And the hypotenuse is always positive. This is opposite, adjacent, hypotenuse. Sine is opposite over hypotenuse. So it will be a negative over a positive, which will make it negative. Cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse, so it will also be negative over positive. Negative. And tangent is opposite over adjacent, so it will actually work out to be